So settle into a comfortable position. And then whenever you're there, allow your eyes to close or your eye gaze to soften. And then breathe. I'm sure you were all breathing anyway, but focus on the breath. So you feel the inhalation traveling in through the nose. You observe where it goes and then you feel it leaving again back through the nose. Feel everything that there is about this moment. Observe the temperature of the room, the weight of the clothes upon your skin. Notice any sounds that you can hear. Notice any smells. And notice the stillness in yourself. Often one of the hardest things there is to be comfortable in your own stillness and your own space. There's nothing wrong with thoughts entering or leaving or just hanging around and being there. But what is important is not letting those thoughts affect you and create too much emotion in this particular moment. So just taking 5 more deep breaths here. Counting them back from 5 down to 1. Now feel 5 breaths. Bring a little bit of movement back into your body. We are going to begin lying down. And you may want to use your belt for this one, or whatever you have available. And if you are using it, you're going to place it over the sole of your foot. If you're not using it, hold it on any part of your leg that you can reach to. Your other leg can be flat along the floor or legs straight. I might actually take my sock off so you can see my foot. And then you're going to flex the foot. So make sure that the strap or the belt is in a place which is comfortable on the sole of the foot. Your leg is going to be straight to begin with, so you feel the stretch through your calf and your hamstring. So if you need to have your leg further away from you to allow it to be straight, then do so. I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes here in this hamstring stretch, or kind of hamstring and calf stretch. So ideally where we want to be is just below the edge of your stretch. The edge is where we are when we're fighting. Just before the edge is where we can sit in intensity, but without the fight. As you notice yourself relaxing, just gently draw the leg into you a little bit closer. Staying in the hamstring stretch, you're going to soften your knee a touch and then reflex your foot. So we still stay in stretching the back of the leg. We just change where it's coming from in the lower part of the limb. Just taking 2 more breaths here. So you can draw into your edge. Then you can choose to keep the band onto your foot, the belt onto your foot, as we draw the leg across to the opposite side, or hold onto the outer edge of the leg. So either one of those places, it's entirely up to you. Now here we're aiming to keep the hips on the floor. So the target muscle is the abductors of the leg, so the outer part of the hip or the outer glute. If you find it's really hard to be in this position without wanting to tip to the side, bend your other knee, place the foot to the floor and allow the knee to fall towards the opposite side of your mouth. Taking our last 2 breaths here. And slowly return the leg back. Remove whatever you have strapped onto you. If you're using something, I'm going to do the other side, so straight in with the foot band to the sole of the foot, your other leg wherever it needs to be. This time, first of all, we begin with the straight leg. So again, you just have your leg as far away as you need to get your leg as straight as possible behind the kneecap. Hopefully then you can still feel that stretch in your hamstring. With your flexed foot, it's drawing the toes down towards the shin. And if you can, just observe your body. See if you're holding tension anywhere. See if you can just relax that place where you're holding the tension. See how close to the edge you can get here. And then bend your knee, reflex the foot. So you might notice that you can go a little deeper into the flexed foot position. So this way, when the knee is straight and when the knee is bent, we target the 2 different calf muscles. So this version here, the bent knee targets the soleus, where the straight knee targets the gastrocnemius. So If one does feel a lot tighter than the other, then you know which one you need to focus on more in general. Then that knee also helps assist us into a deeper hamstring stretch. So don't be afraid to start challenging where your edge is now. Let's have our last 2 breaths here. And just don't draw your leg across your body. Maintain the bent knee as you go, but just imagine that the thigh is rolling inwards. Again, you choose where you want the other leg to be. Maybe bend it just so it takes some of the strain off of the pelvis and the balance, so it enables you to go to relax into it a bit more. Let's take 3 more long, deep breaths. And return the leg back to the centre. We're going to take both legs up towards the ceiling. Now here, your first option is to open the legs out wide, placing your hands on top of the legs or supporting them underneath. Alternatively, you can use your belt root strap, depending on what size it is, to hook over the top of the feet. This elastic band is quite handy for this because it stretches out. If you've got a long yoga belt, then you might have to untie it, so you've got the handles down here. In fact, look a little bit more like that. And you just gently hold on. Here. Again, you can choose to flex your feet or relax your feet, depending on what feels best for you. If you imagine that your heel is trying to point up towards the ceiling and the toes are trying to point toward the floor a little bit more, and it's like you're trying to open your inner thighs as wide as possible. Knees can be bent. If it feels like the legs are like way over towards the other edge of your mat, and it feels like a strain to hold them, bend your knees like this more, and then focus on that inner thigh stretch there, and you can just support them, support your calves, or place the hands on the inner edge of the shin instead. That can feel like it's putting a little less strain on the back. It's going to take 5 more breaths here. Try and allow your legs to feel like they're getting heavier. And then slowly support your legs as they come back in. Draw the knees in towards your chest. I'm going to give you several options for your next pose, so you can pick which one's going to work for you. The first option is to lay onto your front, creating a little pillow under the forehead with one arm, and then reaching back, grabbing hold of the other foot, and drawing that heel in towards the bum for the quad stretch. Now, this is option 1. If you want something a bit more intense, place something underneath your knee. Come up into a wide lunge. Bend the back knee and find the foot for the quad stretch here. And you can use whichever arm is more comfortable to hold. Or alternatively, if you'd rather just go for the hip flexor stretch, you can come into this lunge. If you're coming into the lunge, have your foot slightly wider than your shoulder. If you've got either one of the quad stretch variations, play around with your foot position to make it feel like your thigh is rolling in towards the centre of your body more. So we have that little internal rotation, which does actually make the foot go out a little bit, so you can exaggerate that to get the feeling of the hip rolling in. And then that way you get the leg into a position where it keeps your hips square. And then the quad stretch runs all the way up the front of your thigh as we target the rectus femoris. If you're in the lunge, let it feel like your hips are lengthening forward, that your pelvis is not tilting, like as in an anterior, I can't even say it, anterior pelvic tilt, which creates a relaxed abdominals and like arched lower spine. You want to let it feel like both sides are lengthened evenly and relaxed, maintaining a neutral pelvis. I'm not going to stay here too much longer, by the way. We've got one more full minute. 2 more breaths. And gently release, so you lower the leg with control if you've got hold of it. Do whatever you need between your the transition between the sides. If you're laying on the floor, just allow your body to, your spine to be long and rested before you change sides. If it feels like your back needs it. If you're going for the lunge, again, just check that your foot and your knee are slightly outside of your shoulders. Bending the back knee, finding the foot. Again, you can use the strap as well. And focus on breathing deeply again. By focusing on the breath, it can distract us from any sensations of intensity and just allow us to relax into it a little bit more. If you're in the lunge, just make sure you're not pressing onto the very top of the kneecap. If you are, roll onto the top of your thigh a little bit more, or the bottom of your thigh rather. You can just check you've got that internal rotation of the front thigh. We're in our final minute here. Embrace the sensations that you feel. Final 2 breaths. And gently release. Everyone come onto your hands and knees. And take a round of upward cat. Downward cat. Again, you're going to get to choose what pose is going to work for you. Again, in this next one. So, choices here. We're going to come into swan. Just go right leg, shin roughly the width of the mat, with the hips as square to the floor as possible. Again, you can choose whether you want to add in a quad stretch from here as you fold, or onto your back, crossing right ankle over the left knee. And if you've got a wall nearby, you place the foot up against the wall in any position, just so you don't have to hold on to the legs. Or doing that up against the sofa as well is also quite an effective way, because you can just place, what leg is that on? You can place the foot onto the edge of the sofa and do the exact same thing. Just makes it a little bit more relaxing for your arms. If you find that your bum is lifting a little bit away from the ground, you can place a block or a cushion underneath your bum, or underneath the front hip here. I always say the front hip, because only because it's closest to the screen, but it's really the back leg. I'm going to place the block under there. Whichever one makes it feel like you have more stability, but enough support so you can relax into it. Again, the quad stretch is optional. And you can use your belt if it feels a little bit too much, having the foot that close to your bum. Take a scan of your body from head to toe. And observe any places that you can just relax. Anytime that your mind starts to wander, just focus again on breathing right down into the belly. Allowing the exhalation to create feelings of softness throughout every single part of your body touching the floor. Followed by every part of your body away from the floor. And then every part of your body in unison, relaxing and easing. In our final 30 seconds. At the end of this exhalation, if you've got hold of your foot, let it go. Gently lift yourself up away from the floor, or if you're laying down, swap your legs over. Or if you're in swan, swap your legs over, doing anything that you need in the transition in between. So rechecking your setup, making sure that your knee is slightly wider than your hip in your swan, and your foot is roughly level with the hip on the other side. Just check then that your one hip's not sliding far way forwards on the other hip. If it is, readjust your position and then find if that makes you lift away from the floor, feel the space. So if you're going for that block underneath the hip, underneath the bum, feel it, so that can stop you from wobbling over. If you're on your back on the floor, again, just check that your hips are evenly placed, because often we can start to tilt the hips a little bit more to one side than the other. If you're going for the quad stretch, hold with whichever hand feels better. Sometimes it can also be nice to place a block underneath your torso a little bit to stop it from rolling. Or even underneath your head. And the final 30 seconds. And then you release the grip of your foot if you're holding on. If you're in swan, push yourself away from the floor. If you're already laying on your back, that's where we're going next. So you can just stay there. Again, I'm going to give you a choice. So pick what works best for you. Your first choice is a twist with the hips over on the right side of the mat, the knees bent, and then lowered down to the left side. If you find that your knees are quite far away from the floor, then whatever, fill the space with whatever you have. You can turn this into any twist you like. You can cross the top thigh over if that feels better for you. The next option is pulling the cat's tail. So first of all, I'm already in the twist, aren't I? If you bring your hips over to the right side of the mat again, you're going to bend the left knee, find the foot with the right hand, and then the right leg is going to crumb across the body, choosing whether, again, to have the knee bent here or to straighten the leg. You don't have to hold the foot, you can use your belt, or you can place your hand anywhere along the lengthened leg if you don't reach the foot. If it's uncomfortable holding the left foot with the right hand, then again you can choose to take that bit out and just enjoy a twist. So you can really make this work for you however you want it to. If you notice your right shoulder is then lifting up off the floor, see if you can bring it down closer to the ground to create that anchor, or again, fill the space with a cushion. Every point of contact that you have to your hands and the rest of your body, see if you can soften that contact. We're enough 5 minutes. Into the next exhalation, welcome a little bit of movement back into the body. Release where you're holding on to. Slide your right leg back in across. And as we roll back onto the hips, lift them up and slide them over to the left edge of the mat. And then you're either dropping the knees to the right side straight away, you're crossing the thigh over, or we're bringing the right leg now down to the floor, finding the stretch through the front of the right hip and right thigh, squeezing the right heel up towards the bum, and then adjusting the left leg over on the right side into the place which creates the sensation that you're after. So maybe going for the hamstring stretch in that leg, maybe the rotation through the lower back and the glute is enough on its own. Breathing all the way down to the base of the belly. As you let that breath go, let the weight of your body spread across the floor. The more we can let go here, the more our body benefits. This gives you the opportunity to surrender. We're in our last minute here. And slowly let go of where you're holding. Bring your legs back into the centre. If you want to grab something warmer to place over the top of you, then go for it. Settle yourself into a place which feels really comfortable to spend the last few moments. Just feeling the sensations through your body that all of these deep stretches have created. Letting the eyes close or the eye gaze soften. And following every breath from its beginning to its very end. Taking a really deep and energizing breath. As you let it go, once again, observe your physical body. And then welcome the movement back in again. Doing whatever it needs. Or you can choose to stay there for as long as you wish. In your own time, in your own way. Make your way back up.